Let's celebrate the video game industry, because it's always positive news. Hi, I'm JKB, and today we're getting to the positive news and we're celebrating the video game industry. Xbox did what? Do you know how much I spent on these goddamn balloons? Well, it was announced yesterday that Xbox is going to be shutting down 4 of the studios that were purchased with the Bethesda merger that happened a while back, and it's not good news. It's not good news at all because it changes the whole marketing strategy that Xbox has been talking about for the last couple of years. I'll get into the details of what I'm talking about essentially in this video, but let's just get to the bullet points of this. It's terrible. Over 1,900 people, that's kind of a rumored number, have been laid off across 4 different studios. Arcane Austin is being shut down. It's been rumored that they had 1 year to turn Redfall around, and they weren't able to do that, so the company has just decided to get rid of the studio. Alpha Dog Studios is also being shuttered. Roadhouse Games is also being shuttered. And last but not least, Tokyo Gameworks, who made the acclaimed Hi-Fi Rush that was released without any warning, with no marketing, onto Game Pass. Guess what? It's still sold, but from what I'm hearing from insider information, it didn't sell enough to keep that studio afloat. And also, there are some speculations that the creator of the studio, or the head of that studio, left in 2023, and that caused Microsoft to reevaluate what they wanted to do with the studio. Essentially, and I quote some of the inside information, saying that they wanted to turn it into a support studio for Japanese development, but now they've decided to completely shut it down, which means we'll never get Evil Within 3 or Ghostwire Tokyo 2 or whatever that would have been. I would have loved to see that game evolve. I love that game. Now, let me just go on my rant right away when it comes to Microsoft and Phil Spencer. This is a company that put somebody in charge that seemed to have the passion to be able to turn the ship around, or at least make the ship get back to port before it completely sank. We all know with the Xbox One, when that was originally announced, that basically killed the Xbox brand. That was a major blow to the Xbox brand and to the teams that were working on the games, because they didn't decide to go with a strictly, super powerful console that would just play video games. They wanted to have Kinect, and you remember the hoopla, the TV element of that, which never took off. And of course, the more famous fumble, always online connectivity to the internet, and the odd choice to not let you share your games or have some sort of ability to share them by paying extra. There was so many rumors on exactly what they wanted to do, and it was even amazing to watch PlayStation dunk on Xbox back in the day by just simply saying, we've all seen the famous commercial. He's like, how do you share your games on PlayStation? And then the guy just hands it to the other guy and he's like, thank you. And that's the commercial. That's now a super famous video because, yes, that choice, I'm gonna just say it, that buried Xbox back then with the Xbox One. So we get Phil Spencer on board, and he's this gamer who's apparently playing hours and hours of games. You can go onto his Xbox and just see how many hours he's put into these games, and you start to get sort of a respect for this guy. He's corporate, he's going to be in charge of all of these teams, he's going to be the head of Xbox, so you're thinking, well, look, we finally have somebody in charge that's going to right the ship. However, it's not really how it's been turning out. When it comes to the first-party games, I've been just sort of let down by them. And on top of it, so many promises. I just read an article today that Perfect Dark remake that's coming out for the Xbox Series X and S, that's been in development for God knows how long. It was announced in 2020. I'm hearing now that it's in shambles and it'll be another 3 to 4 years before we even see anything about Perfect Dark. That's just one example of a game that was announced 4 years ago that is just stuck in purgatory. It's in hell. No one even knows if it's going to come out now. So clearly, they've made a decision here to abandon what they just said a year ago with, say, Tokyo Gameworks. They said that, yes, Tokyo, Gameworks created this game that was, highly reviewed. and it did well, and they're proud of it. So why would they all of a sudden go from saying that, and also Phil also said that he'd keep that company alive and he couldn't wait to see what they would deliver next. But a short year later, it's gone. The studio's dead. So it's hard to have any faith in Xbox. How can you believe in anything they say? Now, here's some of my speculation on exactly what's happened here. They've got the Game Pass model. The Game Pass model didn't expand as much as they said it would, and they did say there would be consequences if they didn't hit certain numbers, even going back to saying that even the Xbox brand would be in jeopardy if this did not pick up. Now, I don't think it was that drastic in terms of how much they lost in all of the, again, this just pisses me off because they set goals and they say, we need to meet these goals for this game. So Hi-Fi Rush is a perfect example. It got amazing reviews. Still, not a success in the eyes of Xbox because they've shut the studio down. They don't care about creativity. They don't care about what they promise to these studios or the gamers out there. They care about the bottom line. And at this point in time, they've readjusted and refocused all of their efforts on games that they know will sell. So we're talking about the Indiana Jones game hopefully sells, but we're talking about Fallout, we're talking about Starfield. Let's get more people onto that team so we can build the game up. And of course we're talking about moving people over to the Call of Duty teams because they know that will sell. And this isn't speculation. This was in a statement that came out of Microsoft when they made the announcement that the studios would be shutting down. They do say that they'll be readjusting it to focus on their bigger and, more powerful titles, which means, again, no risks are coming out of Xbox anymore. So all of those announcements we saw over the last 4 years, I would not be surprised if we never see many of them. Like, think about what Rare was doing with that game. I think it was called Everwind. I think, but it's been so long, I don't even know. They've rebooted it in development already once that I can confirm. So what's going on with that game, Rare? I mean, all of these studios are working on things, but nothing is amounting to anything. And at the end of the day now, you've got Obsidian working on that new game that's coming out that is essentially kind of like Skyrim meets sort of an RPG arcade type thing. At least that's what I'm seeing from it. I believe it's called Endowed. No, wait. That means something else, right? What's the game called? No. It's not Endowed. It's Invowed. But yeah, if that game doesn't do well, guess what? Goodbye studio? Is that what we have to look forward to now? If these games don't do amazing on the first couple of months on Game Pass, do you just get rid of the studios now, Xbox? Let me know how you feel about this in the comments below. I read all of the comments, and this one is definitely difficult. We have rumored to be 1,900 people without jobs now. And it's just non-stop. It just keeps going and going and going. And as a gamer, I am so exhausted. All of these things announced, I'm so excited for them. And then all of a sudden, no, those are, we killed the studio. It's over with. So we'll never get Ghostwire Tokyo 2. We'll never get an Evil Within 3. We'll never get Hi-Fi Rush 2. We'll never get a Redfall 2, which maybe, I don't know if anyone wants that. Does the studio deserve to be shut down because that game bombed? Absolutely no. Many studios have made games that have bombed and they've bounced back and created masterpieces. Or the teams went on to work on other games within the studios. So to see 1,900 people just jobless overnight, you're telling me that the talent behind Hi-Fi Rush couldn't have been moved to a different division in Xbox to work on a game? All of that talent out the window, all of that creativity out the window. My final statement on this is that you cannot trust Xbox anymore. They've got nothing left to surprise me. They have no innovation going. It kind of reminds me of what Steve Jobs said about Microsoft a long time ago. You can copy everyone else, you can buy all of these studios, but at the end of the day, Microsoft has no taste. Let's get to some positive news for a change here, and something that we can be excited about. Nintendo has made an announcement that they're going to make an announcement about the Switch 2, within a year from basically today. So we don't know when, we don't know how, we know nothing. The only tidbit that came out of this was interesting. And I have a good point to add to this that somebody told me on Twitter. I can't think of your name, so I'm stealing it. So credit to the person who said that, but I forget your name. If you look at the past of Nintendo, there's one fundamental lesson that Nintendo has learned that I think they're applying to the Switch and the Switch 2, and that is the jump between the NES and the Super NES was a brilliant move because they knew that they had children on board with the NES and they knew what Mario was, and they knew they didn't have to do anything drastic. All they had to do was upgrade those graphics, give it a more adult theme in the marketing, and boom, you'd have a successful system. And that is exactly what happened with the Super Nintendo. However, when we start to talk about the Wii and then the jump to the Wii U, yes, the Wii U was sort of a precursor to what the Switch would be. However, that was terrible marketing. Nobody even knew what a Wii U was. Should you buy the console? Does it come with the pad alone? Do you buy it separate? What is this? Can I attach it to my original Wii? Confusion everywhere. Confusion. Now, the statement they said when asked what to expect from the Switch 2, what is it going to be? Is it going to be something new, or is it going to be more like the Switch? And they said, be prepared for the next Switch model. And that plays in line with the NES and the Super Nintendo. It's brilliant on Nintendo's part to not go too far off the beaten path at the moment, because most of the people from 5 to 7 years ago who got into the Switch, they've aged 5 to 7 years and now they have money. They have more money than ever. So I'm pretty sure Nintendo has looked at the demographics of who's playing the most games here, and they know that anyone that's 30 to 50 years old is still going to buy the system. But they also know that all those kids who are 7, 8, 9, and 10 are now 17, 18, 19, and they're getting their first jobs. And you might look at me right now and be like, that sounds weird. What? But that is how they market these systems and how they plan it out. At least that's how they did it with the Nintendo Entertainment System and the Super Nintendo. So I'm 100% sure that's what they're doing here. They're going to give us a more adult version of the Switch, and there's been rumors that, yeah, when you dock this Switch, it's going to be in 4K, which is, yes, something that the adults would like now. You know, we're talking about 30, 40 years old. We want something a little bit more high-tech, and the kids just want the same thing that they just had, like the NES to the Super Nintendo. They just want to look a little bit better. So we're talking about a system that I truly believe they can knock out of the park here if they play their cards right. All it needs to be is a more powerful Switch, maybe a few cool features that they wanted to implement on the first Switch, and give us more mature titles and give us better graphics. At the end of the day, that's what most people would want out of the system. And one of the most important things you need to do, Nintendo, is make sure I can play all of my past library of digital and physical Switch games on the new Switch. If it comes out and it's not backwards compatible, it's not the end of the world, because there's 140 million Switches out there. So let's get real here. You already have one. But yeah, it needs to be backwards compatible, because you'll take a lot of heat if it isn't. You know, my video game collection is mostly Switch physical titles, so please, for the love of God, make it backwards compatible. I don't want to be carrying two devices around as I have a stroke in my pocket. You know what I mean? I already have like tons of things in my pocket, like, you know, sand, lubrication, sweets from the UK, a couple of bagged hot dogs in case I run into wild animals. Squirrels love hot dogs. Today's news was not positive except for the Switch news. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Next week, I will be back with another weekly episode of news, and I can guarantee it'll be positive, right?